What? You know what? Just to be safe, thing you did ended up saving your butt later. I was an expediter at a restaurant. It was super busy and I was trying to get runners for food. Was about to send out a stack of dim sum when I looked at the ticket again with a note that said, "No peanuts on the tempura tofu." I had read it earlier and didn't sprinkle peanuts on it. Another server was about to run it to the table when I told him to wait and get the actual server for the table. We were slammed and he was kinda mad, but he went and got him anyway. The actual server came back and he's all frustrated when I ask him, "Does your no peanuts guy not like peanuts or is he allergic to them?" He's very allergic to them. That's why I put no peanuts on the ticket. He was all being crappy with me. I told him, "Well, the frickin' tempura tofu is fried in frickin' peanut oil." Didn't realize the head chef was behind me and heard the whole thing. Server didn't know we only use peanut oil. It was an Asian fusion, really nice upscale restaurant. Needless to say, she, the head chef, frickin' reamed this guy. I was a half second from sending that food out too. Would have been bad. Whew, I mean, in that kind of business, yeah, you gotta be careful with that sort of thing all the time. I mean, when I really think about it, I think it's only been in the last 5 years that I've been consistently asked at every restaurant that I go to, "Do you have allergies?" or anything like that. So, it's a good thing that people are looking out for it a lot more. Safety glasses. When working away, it's easy to talk yourself into doing something really quick without them, and there is always a voice in your head yelling at you to put them on. Stopped grinding the thing I was working on, got my glasses, came back, and then this chunk flies up and cracks the right lens. Spidey senses 1, Murphy's Law 0. I knock out my shoes and squeeze the toes for good measure. "Hi, Mr. Brown Recluse." Only happened once, but was enough to convince me it was a good habit to have. I've had a handful of these in my life. The one that popped in my head first was from a party when I was 16. It was in a small farm town about 20 to 25 minutes from my actual town, and everyone was partying in somebody's parents' barn and having a real good time. I didn't realize that our designated driver had been drinking all night. When it was time to go, I couldn't even tell she was tipsy, but something wasn't right, so I didn't want to drive back with them for whatever reason. I decided to get the verbal tongue lashing from my mom when she came to pick me up. Well, my friends in the first car were apparently veering across the road, got picked up by the cops, and all of them got to spend the night in jail. Glad I opted for my mom. That is a really crummy move of that designated driver to do. You have a responsibility for your friends if you are the designated driver. That's just a fact. Arrived in San Francisco a week into a trip. As we gather our things during a moment of downtime, I go back to check the bus because, it never hurts. Found my passport, which I had no idea I'd dropped. Was about to put a new load of laundry into my washing machine in the dark. Saw what looked to be a large sock still in the washing machine. Put my hand halfway into the washing machine, then pulled my hand back up and thought, I don't usually leave things in my washing machine. Turned on the light and it was a bat sitting in there. How to get in your house, how to get in your washing machine, but also, did you know that bats actually are one of the biggest carriers of rabies? I only heard that the other day. Whether it's true or not, you tell me. When I was 5 years old, my parents took my sister and me to a planetarium show, and every kid got a souvenir pencil that had the distance of the planets from the sun written on it. Mercury, Venus, Earth, etc. The guy running the planetarium show said something like, "Hang on to these pencils until 7th grade, kids, and you can use them to cheat on your astronomy tests." He was joking, but I never forgot. And sure enough, it was the exact pencil I used to cheat on the astronomy in 7th grade. I felt smart, but also bad because I didn't feel good about cheating, and almost never cheated after that. That is the kind of thing that I think about a lot, just a little tidbit that someone says that just gets the gears working in your mind. You're like, I will remember this forever. I had a car sitting on jack stands because I needed to do some transmission work. Before climbing under it, I thought it'd be a good idea to rock the car around. One of the jack stands was not in the right spot and the car slipped off it, slamming down on the front disc brakes. Would have killed me. This is from 30 years ago, so some details may be different these days. After enlisting in the army, recruits get a list of everything they must bring to boot camp. On this list was a padlock. During processing the 5 or so days before the real training starts, recruits are given their military equipment, including duffel bags, and told to put their things they brought with them in the duffel bag. After finally getting everything in, I was left with just the padlock. I had no idea what to do with it, but I noticed if I closed my duffel bag in a certain way, I could close the lock on the hook. So when we get to the training unit and off of the cattle trucks and a few hundred drill sergeants are yelling and screaming and telling us to line up, which we do. Our duffel bags are in front of us. The drill sergeant then proceeds to check if the bags are locked, and if not, they grab them at the bottom and whirl them around, flinging the entire contents on the ground. Everyone in the entire company had their stuff dumped except for me and the one other guy, only because locking my duffel bag was the only thing I thought of doing. Putting it in my pocket was not an option because they made it very clear that we were not to have any civilian items in our uniform pockets. Saved an email where a lead developer told me to do something stupid. A couple years later, him, now a manager who liked to yell at his subordinates, we were talking about this stupid behavior and he yelled, "Well, why did you do that?" I pulled up his email, clearly instructing me to do just that. He sputtered and walked off speechless. This guy is one of the reasons I still have trust issues with management, even after a string of really competent, caring, trustworthy managers. This is why the archive email button exists. I bought a used Subaru Baja that was 5 years old at the time and had 75k miles for 12k. The salesman offered an extended warranty that covered the engine for 2,500, would last 3 years, 36k miles. That was kind of a lot, and I usually don't buy those. I don't know what got into me that day, but I said, sure. 1 month and 750 miles later, after an oil change at a mechanic shop, oil started shooting into the pistons? I'm not good with cars. Oil went where it wasn't supposed to go is the point. Completely ruined the engine and turbo. The dealer had to keep it for 3 weeks. The warranty company flew someone out to inspect the car and eventually approved a replacement engine, turbo, and any other affected parts. Total repairs cost almost 11k, and the warranty then applied to all the new parts too. Car drove like it was brand new. Later discovered the car had 5 previous owners before me, but I couldn't find any accidents or serious repair history. This is probably the only time buying an extended warranty on something actually worked out in my favor. I bought a really nice tablet a few years ago, a Wacom Intuos Cintiq, essentially a drawing tablet built into a laptop for animation and the like. Sometimes when you buy nice things, they come in nice boxes, and for some reason I don't really want to throw this box away immediately. I put it in the storage area of my basement and forget about it. After only about a month, this $2,500 tablet stopped working. It wasn't dropped or damaged, and I'm still not sure how it broke. It would simply try to boot up and fail, crashing and demanding a restart. I called support, and after several calls and many hours, we were unable to resolve the issue. They said I could send it back and get a new one if it wasn't physically damaged. They told me it needed to be sent back in the original box. I now keep boxes for everything I buy until the warranty expires. I work in IT. When I started working where I do 9 years ago, I noticed that volume shadow copies, VSS, were not turned on the file server. I went ahead and turned it on, and thank God I have never had to pull a tape in the whole 9 years, and I hope to not ever have to. I did not ask for permission to do it because I knew corporate wouldn't let me do it. Space was money back then. The guy at corporate that was over all their servers called and thanked me for doing it because he was also going to do it, and since I did it first, he was allowed to. I have had to use the VSS copies many times, but most recently for our exec VP of quality accidentally deleted her network share with all of our employees' info on them. Thankfully, VSS is on, and it saved my butt as well as hers. I was remodeling my house, took out a loan and had to get the house appraised to get the loan, found that my house was worth 100k more than I had it insured for, raised my limit on the home insurance to 50k more than the appraised value in anticipation of completing renovations. 2 weeks later, house burned to the ground due to a faulty bathroom fan that I did not touch. City insurance company and loan company all sent separate investigators due to how shady it looked. Well, that is simply unfortunate. I'm sorry your hard work went to waste. A couple of years ago, I restarted The Sopranos from season 1. I think it's in the first season where the water heater leaks and floods Tony's basement. So there are these scenes where he's waiting around in a flooded basement. I was imagining what a nightmare that would be. It reminded me that when I bought my house, the inspector told me I would need to replace the water heater within 5 years. I then realized that was like 12 years prior. So I suddenly got nervous. I went and looked at the water heater and it seemed fine, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I also did not have the money to pay to have a new water heater installed. So I decided to go ahead and buy a new water heater and then save up money to pay someone to install it. The water heater arrived and I stored it in the laundry room. Just a few weeks after it arrived, I happened to look at the old water heater and I noticed the catch pan under it had an inch of water in it. It was leaking. Oh no! Emergency. Except wait a minute, I already have a plan for this. So instead of saving up money to hire a plumber, I went to YouTube and learned how to install my own water heater. It all worked out perfectly, all because The Sopranos made me anxious about the condition of my water heater, causing me to randomly purchase a water heater I had no immediate plans to install. I actually coincidentally started watching The Sopranos myself very recently. For the first time, I'm on season 4, and I am enjoying it a lot. When I was 20, I worked at a gas station. They had just changed the law to if the customer looked 40 and under, you had to ID them for cigarettes. I was by myself. Lady came in and ordered a pack of Camels. She looked roughly 45, so I didn't ask. I had this nagging feeling throughout the transaction that it would be a very good idea to ask. So before I took her money, I kinda laughed and said, "Mind if I see your ID real quick?" "I'm real sorry, you're clearly old enough, but they changed the law recently on who we have to ID." She just looked at me and said, "I'm so glad you asked," and flashed her work card at me. She was a frickin' expert. If I didn't ask her, I would have been arrested and fined. That was the day I learned to trust my gut, and I also suck at telling people's ages. She was 35. Went hiking in the middle of the day with a friend and his girlfriend. I brought a flashlight for each of us. Well, the hike took a lot longer than expected, and my buddy's GF sprained her foot at the end. It took us nearly 3 times as long to get back, and it was dark with relatively rocky terrain. Those flashlights saved our bacon. I can't even fathom how long it would have taken to stumble in the dark otherwise. I had originally booked a rental car for a trip to Iceland using my credit card points. 2 days before I cancelled and booked it with my credit card, which provides rental vehicle coverage, because it looked like the weather wasn't going to be great while we were there, and I wanted the extra protection. While there, we got into an accident for which we were not at fault. The car was almost a total loss, and I had to pay up to $12,000 out of pocket to the company. It took a few months and a ton of paperwork, but the credit card company refunded all of it. I still think about how so lucky it was that I changed the booking. I would have been ruined for a very long time otherwise. I used to be a banner tow pilot and was often asked to fly banners over the New York City area, especially over the Hudson River. I would pick them up at an airport in New Jersey and make my way from there. Typically, if you were to run into some kind of engine problem, you have a fair number of places you could theoretically land if you had the engine trouble. Not so much over the New York City metro area, so I picked out a trail of breadcrumbs, if you will, of specific places I could try to land my plane if I ever had to. On the 1-year anniversary of the Miracle on the Hudson, Captain Sullenberger, etc., I was given the job to fly a banner over a boat on the Hudson that would be carrying the crew and some passengers from the flight. On the way there, my engine failed while I was less than 1,000 feet above the ground, sinking quickly. I needed to find a place to land right away. Fortunately, my best previously selected spot was just to my left, a landfill on Staten Island, and I put the plane right on top of it. This entire topic is basically preparedness as a virtue. My friends and I were always giving crap to another friend because he was never wearing the seatbelt while driving. One night, another friend and him drove me home. It was pretty late and we were all tired. When they dropped me off, I told him, "Use the frickin' seatbelt, you dumb butt." The next day, around lunchtime, I got a call that my 2 friends got in a car accident. The dumb butt fell asleep while driving my other dumb butt friend's car. They hit a parked car which hit the car in front of it and got stuck into a wall. The parked car acted as a ramp for their car. They flipped over and slid like 20 meters upside down. For some reason, the dumb butt had his seatbelt on for the first time ever and he didn't get injured. Both of them crawled outside the car without a single scratch. If I'm not wrong, my friend in the passenger seat broke his pinky though. Dumb butt learnt his lesson and his seatbelt is always on now, even when he's in the passenger seat. My mother's co-worker convinced her to get the best possible insurance when pregnant, because this co-worker had kids deprived of oxygen at birth. She said she could lower it once the kids were 5 and seemed normal. It was a struggle as my parents were both in college and working while raising my brother, so they were looking to cut costs wherever possible. I ended up being born with a birth defect that required a transplant before 5. Before the new doctor even told her what was wrong, after rushing me away via ambulance, they asked her if she had insurance. She was able to say yes. class. Gold star, platinum, whatever. Many kids died even with the top-class care I received, so I surely wouldn't have made it without it. I'm turning 30 next year. Thanks, random lady I've never met. Saved a receipt from my dentist. They charged me, then delayed the procedure I paid for. When I asked for a refund, they changed my entire bill and told me I owed them another $300 when all they actually did was a cleaning and x-rays. I submitted both copies of the invoice to my dental insurance company and told them what happened. 3 weeks later, the insurance company, Delta Dental, resolved the issue with the dentist and I got a refund. Despite the dentist attempting to defraud me, they still regularly call me asking me to come back in. Recently, they changed their name and moved a block down the road to try and hide from the plethora of negative reviews on Yelp. I should really go for a dental checkup soon, actually, now that I think about it. Very minor, but once I was going out drinking in San Francisco with some friends. We loved going to this kind of dive bar in the Tenderloin, rough neighborhood. Anyway, I had just bought a new car and was worried about parking in the Tenderloin. All my friends assured me it'd probably be fine. As we parked on the street about 2 blocks from the bar, a homeless guy came up to me and said, "Man, you don't want to park that new crap here. Somebody gonna smash them windows and steal your stereo, your sunglasses." On a whim, I just said, "Yeah, but we're kinda late. Want to keep an eye on it for me?" He pauses for a second, goes, "Like a sanctuary guard?" "Yeah, man, I'll watch your car. You got $10? My friends, confused, started mumbling about just walking on, but I thought it couldn't hurt so much, so I gave the guy $10. "Here's your $10. Keep an eye on it, man. If it's still in good shape when I get back, I'll give you another $10. Damn, $20? All I gotta do is sit here? And make sure nobody frickin' smashes my window. There isn't anything inside anyway. It's new. I got you, man, I got you." He took a huge swig of this bottle of Wild Turkey and we were on our way. Anyway, the night progresses, we drink and have a good time, and now we're all proper drunk except for my friend Mary, who was our designated driver. I gave her my keys and we start walking down the block. One by one, we notice almost every parking spot has shattered glass next to it. Somebody went through the area and smashed each window to get into the cars. I get this sinking feeling in my stomach. I'm already mentally prepared to have to shell out a few $100 to replace the window of a car that wasn't even mine a week ago. But lo and behold, we get to the spot and my car is fine, and the homeless guy is bundled up in a sleeping bag, and he sees me and goes, "Hey, you're back. You won't believe what crap I did for you. Check this out." And he shows me this huge frickin' bruise on his face and pulls his gloves and shows me his knuckles, which are scraped to hell. "What happened?" I said. "Some bunch of expletives. He comes around here smashing windows and grabbing crap. He gets to your car," and I'm like, "Yo, pass that one. That crap's my responsibility." And he turned around, pulled back on this big old brick he's got in his hands, and I jumped that mother from behind and he hit me in the head with his goddamn brick. But I knocked him good, man. I changed that mother's mind, man. He was all strung out and he ran off down the block. My friends and I are staring at this guy incredulously. My car is fine, spotless. I reach into my pocket for $10, but I realize I don't have cash. "Dude, thanks so much. Give me a second. I gotta get your cash," I say as I walk into the liquor store on the corner, use the ATM. As I'm checking out, I realize they've got 750s of Wild Turkey in there for like $10. I buy one for him. I give him the $10 and the bottle. "Thanks for keeping an eye on the car for me. You would have thought this dude just won the lottery." "Oh, damn," he just kept screaming. Then he kicked the pile of blankets and crap on the side, and I realized he had a girl in there sleeping, and he goes, "Wake your butt up, look what I got." And she rubs her eyes and looks confused at us, then at him, and at the bottle, and then at us. Wordlessly, she reaches for the bottle as he hands it to her, and he's still screaming and hollering like it's the best day of his life. You gave that man a sworn duty, and he carried it out, I guess. Very simple, but a roll of toilet paper in the glove compartment and my car has literally saved my butt multiple times. A tropical storm was blowing through my city a few months ago, and we were projected to get some winds, gusts, and significant rain. Because our parking lot isn't large enough for all staff and our clients, a lot of us have to park on the street, which is lined with large old trees. As I rolled up on the morning, we were due to get the storm. I parked in my usual spot down the block. Before I shut the car off, though, I noticed that this particular spot was located directly across the street from one of the largest trees on the block. Thinking, you know what, just to be safe, I put the car in reverse and backed up about 10 feet, safely out of the direct line of fire from any trees. In the middle of that afternoon, in the midst of the howling wind and driving rain, we heard a huge thud down the street. Went to investigate, and that same tree I'd been parked across the street from fell across the road and missed my car by about 8 feet. At that moment, I was glad that I decided to play it safe. The car parked on the other side of the street directly across from where I'd initially been got absolutely destroyed. Crushed roof, windows blown out, just pulverized. One day I got hit in the head while surfing. It turned out to be a concussion, and I went to the hospital with my mum. I was 17 at the time. We met with the doctor in A&E, and he said, "It's a concussion. We could do a CT scan if you want, but there's probably no need." I was unsure and just said, yeah, I would like a scan. After the scan was done, I was told that they didn't see anything, but the radiographer would be checking it in the morning. Next day, I got a call to be told that I needed an MRI, that they had found a tumor in my brain. If they didn't catch it there, I would have lost my vision from the tumor, and it would have been too late to do anything at that stage. Hey, if you're at the doctor's, why not just ask for the whole shebang? Well, unless you're in America. I stayed up late one night playing video games, but I left an unfinished can of soda out overnight. When I woke up the next morning, I picked it up, held it about an inch away from my mouth, and was about to drink it. Then I thought, wait a minute, I don't want this hot AF soda. So I walked over to the sink to pour out what was left. As I poured it, a huge cockroach crawled out of the hole of the top. I promptly high-fived myself. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. And if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Linked in the description below.